Piston Fanatic. I'm your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a diehard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been the varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan. Well, Piston fans, the preseason is over, and again, it was crazy how our scheduling for the preseason went. I don't know again who or how it gets done, but we played only 4 games, and we had a week in between our second and third game, and then we had to play back-to-back. So that didn't make any sense. But anyway, we're going to discuss some of the takes and things that we have to look forward to. It's only 4 more days till the regular season starts, and once that starts, there's going to be games every other day, and we even got a back-to-back right away, and it's going to be fun. And let's get started, though. I would have to say that overall, to be honest, you all know that I'm a huge Piston fan, and I'm optimistic about everything all the time. But I would say that the preseason was overall a little bit of a disappointment for me, and I say that because I was hoping, we got so excited about watching Cade play in the preseason, and I still think he's going to be an amazing player. But he did, he missed one preseason game, and then the third game he started out the first half, he didn't look so good. He looked really great the second half, and then last night, in the last game, he didn't look especially good. He didn't look like he could get to his spots as well. He didn't look like he was confident in himself. I'm not sure, but I'm a huge Cade Cunningham fan. I think he's my favorite player, and I think that he will get better. But the same concerns that we're having are going to always be there this year. The defense, Monty's talked about defense constantly, and Troy's talked about defense, and that's going to have to be us, what we are and what we're about. And they preach it every day in practice. They work on it every day in practice. We have a great defensive coordinator. Monty's had real good defenses that he's ran as a head coach. But the reality is we have been starting in at least 2 or 3 of the games. Everybody's been 22 years old or younger. 5 guys on the court, 22 or younger. And again, I've said this before on podcasts, the 5 worst teams defensively in the NBA last year were the 5 youngest teams. And that's just a reality. And you're not going to be as good on defense when you're young. It just takes some time to develop. And we're going to be mixing some veterans in, like last night. Our veterans, none of them played. So Bogey and Burks and Harris and Morris and Killian, who's kind of even a veteran, all did not play, and even Isaiah Livers didn't play. So that's a lot of our floor spacers, and Livers can be a real good defender. But anyway, so we were playing young guys, and we just didn't play great on defense, but our offense was a little inconsistent. But this year is going to be about, we're going to have to be better at not fouling. So that's going to be a big priority, and not turning the ball over. So we had like 6 turnovers in the first quarter, and that just doesn't cut it. And some of our turnovers are careless, and some of them are, I guess you could say that they're because we're so youthful that we just make some mistakes. But we have to win games in the NBA, you can't foul all the time. You can't turn the ball over all the time. And you got to be able to shoot the 3, and we, I think, shot like 27% last night on threes, and they shot 42. And so when that happens, you're going to lose. And we are out there with non-shooters. Cade shot the 3 really well in preseason, and Ivy was halfway decent last year. He got the start last night, but Stu's not shooting the 3 well. He shot it really poorly in preseason, and he shot it 32% last year. Jordan's not a 3-point shooter, and ironically, Ausar has shot in the preseason games. He shot better from the 3 than he did from the 2. So we're going to talk about that later too. So our starters gave up over 40 points in the first quarter, and Josh Green came out just smoking. He was 4 for 5 on threes, and Kyrie had 17 points and a bunch of assists. And so that's when that happens. That's part way. It's really hard to gauge how much is that to blame on our defense, and how much is that to do with a guy just getting real hot. And so so again, I think I'm projecting 32 wins, and that's higher than most anybody has. I mean, the people who are non-Piston fans are projecting lower than that, even down in 25, 26, 27. That's where most experts project the Pistons, and that could happen. But I just believe with the talent that we have, if we stay relatively healthy, because I think we have enough depth to cover up for a lot of injuries, and but I think that we just have to play good 32 games and have things break our way for 32 games. But um, like I said, we're playing a young team, and you show me a young team. I try to look back through NBA history and what young team was successful. The only one I can think of is Oklahoma City when Durant and Westbrook and Harden were all real young, and they made it to and they had Serge Ibaka too, and he was a big guy that was a young player that they drafted right at that time, and they were in the conference finals, I think, and they were up 3-1, and then Westbrook and Durant just kind of choked a little bit, and they ended up losing to the Warriors. But so we're going to look at what happened last night. Ausar, he had such a fabulous game the night before and against Oklahoma City, but last night he had played 25 minutes, which was the most on the team. He was 4 for 13 and 0 for 2 on threes and only 1 for 3 on free throws. He had 0 assists and 4 turnovers and 9 points. But he had the 11 rebounds. That's huge, of course. Some of those were people always accuse Andre Drummond that the only reason he had so many rebounds is because he would miss and get his own rebound and miss and get his own rebound. Well, Ausar did that several times last night, where he multiple times got his own rebound, but he still has been, a shining star in the preseason, and he looks to be just an amazing piece, and I think that he is going to be fabulous, but I think that we get really excited about him, and we should be. But the reality is, in 4 games, and again, they're playing. He's going to play. He better play 30 minutes at least a night, and if he's not in foul trouble. But he, in playing like 20-some minutes, he's averaged 12 points, 9.3 rebounds, which is incredible. Which shows us that we can play him at the 4, because he's going to rebound better than any 4 that we have. And he 2.8 offensive rebounds, and I think Duren hasn't shown. I mean, Duren was just unbelievable last year on the offensive boards, and so he averaged 3 or 4 offensive boards per game last year, and so I think he's going to do that if he gets to play minutes. And he had almost 3 assists, even though he had 0. So in the 4 games, if you have 0 one game, that really lowers your average. So despite having 0 last night, he still averaged 2.8 assists and 1 block. And he's going to, I think, get lots of steals. And we get real excited about those stats and about what he's going to do. But he still isn't, that's not approaching any numbers like Cade had his rookie year. And Cade didn't shoot the great. But here's Ausar that, still, when we drafted him that high, people said shooting's going to matter. Ausar and he played great. Everybody's all hyped about him, but he shot 35% from the floor. Ironically, he shot 40% on threes. He was 4 for 10. And I don't think he'll do that during the season. I would love for him to do that, but I'd be thrilled if he shot 35%. Anyway, another concerning thing is he shot 65% on free throws, which isn't good. And that really, most experts say that, you can tell how good a shooter is. A great judge of that is your free throw percentage. So even if you're not shooting threes great, but if you're like an 80% plus free throw shooter, they think that you'll probably turn into a good 3-point shooter. But Ausar has never shot free throws well, and if he shoots 65, he's going to get to the line. I mean, he attacks the basket. I love the way he attacks the basket. And with Overtime Elite, he didn't finish well. I mean, if you take away his dunks, and he had a lot of dunks in the preseason, and he still only shot 35%, and he shot 40% on threes. So all of his other shots, his percentages weren't that good, and I still am real optimistic about him. I think, again, there's things people like about players, and players are good defensive or can do this or do that, but I'll continually say this about Ausar. He you can't hardly play guys that aren't good shooters in the NBA, but Ausar is the exception to the rule, in my opinion. He is such an elite defender. He is such an elite athlete. He is such an elite rebounder, and he is a really tremendous passer and sees the floor. He's a great cutter, and so all those things combined that he's so elite, he's so above, way not just league average, but he's way above everybody. And not just everybody, but he's still just really high. So I think he's going to be really exciting to watch. But he's going to have an up and down season. He's not going to be consistent. So he's going to, like you said, he was great on Wednesday night, and he wasn't so good on Thursday night. And so that's going to happen with our whole team, and it's going to certainly happen with Ausar. But I love watching him play, and like I said, he had 4 turnovers. That's a lot in 25 minutes. So, and when you're not the primary ball handler, that's really a lot. But so Stu last night played 20 minutes. He was 2 for 7 and 1 for 4 on threes and 4 for 6 from the line. He had 4 rebounds and 3 assists, which is really good for him. 9 points. But again, he, like I said with Ausar is an elite defender. Stu is not. And Stu showed some things off the dribble that were positive that I liked, and he made 3 assists. That's huge, having a player like that. But when he's 2 for 7, and he did shoot better around the rim this season in the preseason, which again, only 4 games, very small sample size. But I had mentioned before that he was one of the worst. He was one of the worst centers finishing around the basket in the whole NBA, like in the bottom 5%. And he got worse every year from his rookie year to his second year to his third year. His percentage around the basket went down. Preseason, he's been scoring, so hopefully he continues to do that. And there's a good chance he will, but it is still the big concern is, he had that one game where he was 2 for 4, but overall he was 4 for 21 on threes, and that's not going to get it done because they're not guarding him. They're even, they didn't even guard him last year when he was hot making them. They're not going to guard him. They're just going to sag so far off him and help so far off him. And I also almost think that it's partly psychological. I've seen it, when I was a coach, that sometimes we'd play a box and one on a star player, and we would leave some of their other players wide open for outside shots. Well, sometimes if you catch the ball and you're wide open and the team's just giving you the shot, it gets in your head. And I think right now it's in Stu's head. So there's a good chance he still could get into a rhythm and relax. And if he makes a few in a row, then he will start making them. But there's nothing that's shown us that he will. So there are no guarantees. And I know the coaching staff and the general manager and James Edwards III love him, and so they are going to make excuses and make reasons to play him. But I still think that he is a valuable asset to our team and our franchise. And I think that my thought is that would be a tremendous player coming off your bench, your first big to sub into the game, and that he can bring that energy and that toughness and just really help a team and play 20, 25 minutes a night and help. So anyway, I'm not sure why he only played 16 minutes last night, but he was 3 for 4. His percentage is out of this world. Last year he shot 62%, and this preseason I'm sure he shot right around there. But he was 0 for 1 on threes. He did attempt 1 3, and I know he made some. We saw him make one when he played with the select team. I saw him make one in Rico Hines, but it'll be interesting if they leave him wide open, if he'll still let it fire. But he had 3 rebounds. Again, that's only 60 minutes. 1 assist, 2 steals. I said he's going to be good at getting steals. He gets up in the passing lane, and he's aggressive, and he's a good athlete. So Cade, like I said, Cade looked a little bit unsure of himself last night. I know there's pressure. He's playing in Dallas, and that's where his family, all of his relatives are down there. I don't know if that, we always try to make excuses for Cade. He's hurt. It's the beginning of the year or whatever, but he needs to just play well. And I'm confident in him, and I think that, we do need to have spacing for him, and I hope that it does happen. Maybe Bogey's coming back, and we're not sure when. So that's the thing about Bogey and Monty Morris. Nobody's given, the Pistons have not let us know. It's surprising to me that there's been no mention of when they project that they're going to come back. I mean, when when he first got hurt, they said he's going to be reevaluated in a week, but that was like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we haven't heard a word. So we'll just have to just be patient and see. In the meantime, we have the positive thing is Killian's had a good preseason, and Sasser's been looking pretty good. So that's um, something that we can get by with. Hopefully, if they miss some time at the beginning. So Cade, 23 minutes, 3 for 10, and his jumper in the preseason, to me, his mid-range, which he was so deadly with last year, especially the last 7 games. He played 12 games. First 5 games he didn't shoot so hot. The last 7 games his mid-range game was on fire. But it looks flat to me, and I said that I'm so confident and so positive about the fact that his three-point shot, the arc, is significantly higher than it was last year. But his mid-range jumper looks like it's still flat. But he was 1 for 4 on threes last night. Didn't get a free throw. 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 turnovers, 7 points. So that is not how you need your number one player, your franchise player, to play. We're not going to win many games if Cade is that ineffective. So Ivy played 19 minutes. He's 3 for 8, 1 for 3 on threes. He had 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 block, 1 turnover, 7 points. So it was just a good game for Ivy, and he got to start. But he got to start because Killian, Killian probably would have started if Killian would have been there. So who knows? Sasser, 9 minutes. He only played. So I took these stats down before the game ended because after midway through the third quarter, Monty took the starters out and then he played the subs. And so the reality is, in these preseason games overall, the starters played well against Oklahoma City the second time. Other than that, they haven't played so great, and we have had some good comebacks. And even last night, we came back, and the score ended up being 114 to 104, but we were down by 20 again. Every one of these games, even the ones we won, we got down by 20, and then came back and won. But but at the end of the game, we had a bunch of guys that are probably going to play in the G League or on the two-way contracts, and Bagley was out there with them, I think. But most of the guys, and they played well. The guys that are our G League players, they played really well. A couple of them. Like I said, Josh Green had 22 points, 8 for 12, and 4 for 5 on threes. And so that's unreal. That even if you're not guarded, that's really good shooting. So. We're not sure, again, like I said, Monty Morris and Bogey are going to be ready, and that certainly is going to create a lot more spacing for us. But, he didn't play Harris last night either, who has been shooting really well, or he didn't play Burks. So I don't think either of them are injured. I think he's just saying that, this is preseason. Those guys are veterans. They know how to play, and will just be able to play once the season starts. But here it comes. We're playing 4 days. Wednesday, October 25th, we're playing in Miami. And I'm sure that I really think the Heat are going to be similar to last year, where they barely made the play-in. They're either going to barely make the play-in or they're not even going to make the play-out. And depending on Bam and Jimmy Butler's health, but they should be healthy to play against the Pistons. Be cool to see Ausar come out and guard Jimmy Butler. That will be cool to watch that matchup. Be cool to see Duren guard Bam. I think that's a cool matchup for us. And then the rest of our team, I think we have a chance. So they lost some of their valuable players, I think, and so we'll hope that we win that game on the road. But Miami, they made it to the NBA Finals last year, but I think that. That if they don't shoot the three extremely well, they were one of the worst three-point shooting teams all season. They ranked near the bottom of the NBA, but in the playoffs, they were on fire from three. So that's just what the game of basketball is in the NBA anymore, and the three-point shot dictates so much of that. But, we went to our bench with like 7 minutes left and 7.5 minutes left in the third quarter last night. So, But again, I'm rambling a little bit right now, but I just know that we are a young team. And like I said, I'll say it over and over again, young teams don't typically win a lot of games, and young players get better and better significantly and as a team. And so we just have to be patient and enjoy watching these guys play. I know there's some trade talk going around, like Bogey to the Warriors, but I don't think that we'll get Kuminga. Kuminga's been on fire during the preseason and looked really good. But there's teams that need three-point shooting. The Lakers, and we've heard the Burks to Houston rumors that were, I guess, a real thing. That there's talks. That doesn't mean they ever got close. But the Lakers got Taurean Prince, and he's a bigger guy. We've talked a little bit about Darius Bazley that just got cut loose by the Nets. So the Nets, you think, well, they cut him, so they can't be that good. But the Nets, of all the teams, they are loaded with the power forwards, but with big forwards that can play the 3 or the 4, and so they have too many of them. So I think that played into cutting him. He's still only like 23 years old, and he shot the 3 like 40-some% in preseason. I don't know how many exact attempts he had, and he shot on not a lot of attempts. He shot like 37% last season, but prior to that, he was not a great three-point shooter. But we need a guy that can play the 4, that can play really good defense, and he's been known to be a pretty good defender. And so that's an option. A real story, I don't think they will go for it, but because Danny Ainge, I think, is really trying to rebuild. But Utah, it doesn't have a point guard, and they have a bunch of draft picks. But I don't know if they would be interested in Monty Morris, and not that, I've been excited to watch Monty Morris play with the Pistons, but it does get a little bit different now when you think that Killian's going to be in the rotation and Sasser in the rotation, that, if you have Monty Morris and Cade playing point, then there's just not a lot of minutes for those other guys, obviously, especially Killian. He can play off the ball, and he's tall enough that he can, guard different positions. So that remains to be seen what happens there. So we just got to improve our defense, and the coaching staff's going to be working every day. That's going to be emphasized, and the younger players are going to have to get better. And we need this year. We still, Houston, I think, is going to do better because they have some veterans. They signed, Van Fleet and Dylan Brooks, and they got some other veteran players in there that can shoot a little bit. And so I don't know how much that expense. They're loaded with young guys. They have as many or more good young players than we do. And so are they going to sacrifice wins, or are they still going to develop the players? But the only way you get better is by playing. You're not going to get better by sitting on the bench and watching. You have to take some of your lumps. And like I said, even if we win 32 games, which is more than most people think, we're still going to be like a top 6 draft pick. And the problem is the challenge. I listen to a lot of podcasts about all over the league, and all these teams, even on the teams that are projected to be the bottom, all of the people that cover their team, they all are optimistic about their team. They all think their team's going to exceed the over/under, and they probably will. But there's just going to be there's so much parity in the NBA, and there's just going to be so many, from night to night, who wins and loses, and we just got to hope that our Pistons put it together enough on, a certain number of nights that they win. But if we win 32 games, that will be miraculous. That will be a 15-game improvement, which is very seldom happens in the NBA, but I think it can. But I still, even if we get that, we're still going to be in the lottery, and we're still going to get an opportunity to get a really good young power forward that hopefully can shoot the 3 and go from there. So I know Piston fans don't want to hear it. I know there's a lot of you. I read your stuff on Twitter, and I read your stuff on comments and different things, and I listen to different podcasts, and I know that you're going to be real unhappy if we don't have a good season. But it's just part of reality. And again, 32 wins would be a fabulous season. So anyway, if you're listening to this on YouTube, please subscribe and leave a thumbs up. If you're listening on Spotify, leave a 5-star review. Be the reason that somebody feels cared for and loved. And let's go Pistons. Wednesday night, baby. Let's go.